Okay, so welcome to another one of my streams, and today back with the promised second part of the look at the Tees Valley with some passenger stuff. Didn't get round to it yesterday, but did spend a bit of time bashing up and down the line in the 101, so hopefully have at least half an idea what I'm doing. Right. Let's what does it look like outside just now? Looks a bit cloudy. I have some clouds. Even though I'm nowhere near Darlington, but never mind. So it says we'll be going all the way along from Darlington to Saltburn. It says Bishop Auckland, but it's not really Bishop Auckland. And we'll do this one, I think. So it says the 15:30. It's actually going to be the 15:40, I think, because you get a couple of minutes to do a bit of a setup first. You get just long enough to do it with this one. Oh. It's seemingly ever lengthening loading time, unfortunately. Especially when you're loading the game up to begin with, it just seems to take a bit longer just now, which is annoying. But never mind. We get there in the end. Bit like British Rail. We'll get you there eventually. So, we'll get the doors open while we wait for even the flaming graphics are taking longer to load in. Get the doors unlocked, and not got much time for mucking about here, so we'll just set everything quickly. Saltburn's a few turns of the wheel away. Just hold it down until you get past, I think it's Hartlepool's the last one. Macclesfield, Saltburn. Right. While we're on our feet, shouldn't really do that till last, but I always forget it, so I just do it now. Make sure the lights are on. Let's not get out onto the track side. This is the 3-car set instead of the 2 from Transpennine. Passenger load time's a little longer as well than it is on Transpennine, so we've got a wee bit of time. Now, what did it come after again? Was it Macclesfield and Saltburn? Okay. Yep, close enough. And the rear reds are on, so we'll just nash back down the front. And we've got time to finish setting up the front end of the train now. So, let's turn the AWS on, and then just sort of clear it as you sit down, and it should turn it off quickly enough to avoid it becoming a nuisance. Shit, what else do I need to do here? Okay, so reverse it to forward, gear selector in neutral, that should be off, panel light on. So we've got about 45 seconds to go, and we're more or less actually all set up already. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to lock the doors now, so that we're ready to go bang on 41. Which is fair enough, because although the game shows all the doors shutting nicely, neatly together, on a 1980s slam door train that is not how they worked. It took a wee while to get everything put together. So 10 seconds to run, and I'm also feeling a bit brave, so we're just going to get rid of that. Just check that time again. Yeah, 15:40, so we're good. Oh, nearly forgot. And that's us, we're good to go. So we stop at, we don't stop at every station, I don't think. The Saltburn trains don't stop at every station. The Middlesbrough ones do. And out onto the main line, just contain the speed because it's actually 30 miles per hour going down this set of points, not 50, as the signage suggests in the top of the HUD. There's AWS 1989 style, and the speed limit going up slightly, so we'll just put a bit more power on. And then just contain that acceleration. I've got a feeling I've forgotten to do something, but I have no idea what. Lights are on, the blinds are set. The reds at the back are on. I think I did everything, it just feels like I didn't. So we'll just pick that speed up a bit now, we're in the 60 mile an hour stretch. It's actually quite easy to do this without the HUD because the levers are nice and clear. You can see where everything is and the numbers are all there for you. And this gauge is actually easier to read than the one on the heads-up display, I think, personally. Yeah, so I tend to keep the brake handle, once I've released it, I tend to move it back near the centre so it's got less distance to travel when I do actually need it. So the W board that we go past, that's whistle. Level crossing or something up ahead, probably an unguarded one. So we've got over a mile to our next stop. It's a mixture of 3 colour and 4 colour aspect signalling along this line, so you won't always get the double yellow advanced caution. Sometimes you will just go straight into a straight up caution depending on the speed of the section you're on and various other things. I'm just gonna try and judge my braking so that I'm not having to do too much too late, but you don't want to do too much too early either. And there is a bit of an knack to it, and the first stop is probably going to be a little bit messy just because it's the first one of the day and I'm a little bit rusty. These vacuum brakes, there's definitely a knack to using these things. Just remembering we're a 3-car set, so I'll let some of the pressure out just a touch. Just want to make sure you're completely on platform. And my target arrival time was 46. Let's see how we did. So yeah, we're more or less on time. Well, we won't have much sitting around time once the passenger load's done. Just be shut the doors and go. What would actually happen if you were running a little bit late is the guard would just be closing the doors up already, and if you were due to be going now and there was nobody trying to get on, then off you go. It wouldn't force you to sit for all this time, but never mind. It is what it is. So I want to be ready basically just as soon as that gauge fills up. I want to be ready just to lock the doors and get underway. So onto a 30-mile-an-hour stretch, which is just for a little while. Just to get round this corner basically, and then it's back up to 60. Much easier to see the signage from the cab of the 101 as well than it is to see it from sitting away up high in the 37. And I'm using a USB keyboard to operate some stuff like the train horn and the cameras and things. Cost me a £5 out of PC World. I'm sure other purveyors of cheap crap PC peripherals are also available. Oh, that's such a 1980s roundabout. Those things used to be everywhere. A lot of the ones around my way have been dug up and replaced with slightly more sensible junction type arrangements these days. So 2.5 miles to go to our next stop. Just sound the horn if we're going flying on through it. There was no such thing as noise pollution in 1989. There were, however, about 2 deaths a week on the railways because people are stupid. And more than a handful of those deaths caused by these slam door trains, because people used to actually have the door open Passengers open the doors themselves. Driver a bugger all to do with it. Idiot passengers would have the doors open, and at least once every couple of weeks somebody jumped out before it had stopped, lost their balance, went down the gap, and you're... yeah. There's no restart scenario option for when that happens, unfortunately. One of the many, many reasons that slam doors are more or less a thing of the past. Certainly being phased out. So it's backing off the power, going into the 50 mile an hour. And we'll just apply a little bit of brake pressure and hold it there. That should lose us the speed we need in the time we need. And we're already down to more or less the 45 that I need to be for the next reduction. Some of these speed limit changes follow each other fairly quickly, and there's no advanced signposts, or very, very, very few advanced signposts. They were comparatively rare back then. So you just kind of need to know it's coming to be able to react to it properly, especially in a big heavy freight train. If you had just timed that to arrive at 50 miles an hour and then realised you had about 500 yards to lose another 15, that's not going to work out so well for you. So route knowledge is king in the 1980s. I think I'm coming in far too slowly as well. It can be a lot more aggressive than you think with stopping these. And it doesn't matter if I stop a little bit short here. I think I'm plenty well enough on the platform. We'll have a look in a moment. Unlock the doors. Time check. Was it 53 or 54 I was due on platform? I don't recall. There's bags of room there. So yeah, not a bad looking route. There's plenty going on at the side of it, especially as we head up round the industrialised area around Redcar and what have you, and then back out onto the passenger line out to Saltburn. It's a nice wee route, not the longest route, but it's a nice route to drive, and you do definitely have to drive it in these things, as opposed to monitor your progress along it. Okay, so we were actually a bit early there. It says wait till 55, but I've just closed up early because, again, you would be aiming to go on that time, as opposed to start closing your train up at that time. I think this sim does the out on the line part very well, but it doesn't do the what actually happens in the station part that brilliantly all the time. So there's no point absolutely gunning it going into a 30. In fact, 200 yards away, there's no point even going any faster because these brakes take a little while to do their thing. Very, very short run round to Eagles Cliff anyway. Literally just round the corner. I'm just going a little longer down the platform than it says I need to, so that I'm. Well, I get the doors open. Do we do for time? I think well, that's more or less when we should have been here. It's a good idea to run a bit further down the platform. It doesn't apply at this station, but there's a couple of them where if you draw up too far back, you won't actually see the signal around the corner properly, and it's usually because of a bridge or something in the way. Again, just going to get a little bit ahead of myself here and have everything the way I want it, so that I can just lock the doors and off we pop. Wait until 58, so that's starting now, isn't it? What I should be doing is planning ahead and letting a little bit of that brake pressure out before then. So 1603 Thornaby, let's see how we get on. Time is it just now? 5 minutes or so to get there, right? We should be alright. Okay, so that's his fourth gear now. We can just rock and roll along like this for a bit. Couple of miles to go. Don't think we'll be troubling the speed limit too much. Not the 61 anyway. Dead easy to manage your speed on this route fairly effectively. Anyway, it's pretty level most of the way. Apart from when you got to climb in and out of the tees. Yeah, the tees yard. So the feather on top of the signal mast there, the white lights all lit up, just letting me know that we're going off across the junction here. Should maybe just scrub a wee tiny bit more of that speed off, and we're fine. Maybe just a little breath into the brake system to hold the 50 on that downhill, and just make sure that we're ready for the upcoming 45. So, oh, I'm going to have overcooked it slightly. Come on, brakes! There we go. There we go, there we go, there we go. Lovely. And I think there may actually be another reduction into Thornaby. Beyond the... It says 35, but I have a feeling it was lower than that. Let's just... Yeah, I think I was just a little bit early with the break in there. Not to worry. Hello Tommy, welcome, good to see you. Sorry if I don't always see your messages straight away. I've got the chats on a different screen to the one I'm actually playing with the trains on, so I don't always see them straight away. Oh, Denmark, I've been there. I spent a couple of weeks in Aalborg when I was a teenager. Beautiful place. Oh, buggered up my my braking slightly as well. Let's not worry too much about that. So there we go, that's a bit more sensible with the braking, and they release really quickly. Compared to how slowly they take effect, you can pop them off in a hurry if you need to. Esberg, I think we might have went there on a day trip as well, although it was about 20 years ago, so very long time. Lovely place though. Okay, it doesn't matter too much if you overshoot, and in fact you do want to move slightly further around because the signal's blocked off by those fence posts if you stop where the game suggests that you do, so you're better to draw forward a bit. Oh, camera going a bit mental there. What time was I meant to be here at? So we've arrived more or less bang on time. I think you were actually supposed to put these things into neutral when you were sitting at a station like this. I'm going to let some of the brake pressure out of back into the system as well. Not going to let them all the way off, but just so that when I go to release them when we move, they don't take as long to release. You got to be careful not to let them off so much that the train starts to roll. That would be bad. Just final check that all my levers are in the right position, because there are quite a few levers in this cab to worry about. And we'll just pre-select the door locking. The reason for me doing that twice every time that I start the train is what actually happens on the platform is that when the guard is satisfied that the train is secure and that it's clear to go, he's down at the back in the rear cab looking forward down the side of the train, and he's got a buzzer like this as well, and he sounds that twice to tell the driver it's safe to move. The driver then presses his buzzer twice and moves the train off. Now obviously I've not got a guard buzzing at me to tell me that it's okay to move, so I just do it in response to the honk when this thing up here changes. In fact, there's a lot more than that going on during the station stops, but the most of it is completely irrelevant to what happens in the sim. Should probably have changed gears a little while ago as well. Oops. the right thing to do on a... Yeah, it's a procedural thing, basically. As I said, there would be an actual guard down at the back of the train who would be sending that message to the driver first. And in fact, at a lot of stations there would be a guard on the platform as well, who would tell the guard on the train that he thought it was clear, and then if the train guard agrees, he'll signal the driver that it's safe to move. I haven't seen a slam door train up my way for a very, very long time now. It's maybe been about 15 years since I saw a slam door train on any of my local lines, but my god, they were frightening things to watch people opening the doors on. I hated them. Right, so we're just going to get ready to trim off about 10 miles an hour. We're losing some speed naturally anyway because of the incline. We might just need to give the brakes a little bit of a squirt. And then just hold them where they are. There we go, down to 45, and I believe that there might be a further reduction. I'd be surprised if there wasn't. Oh, there's not. Yes, the 6th of June, I believe, is when we get the freight trains for the Transpennine route, which I am quite looking forward to, I have to say. This has given me a bit of a taste for the old British Rail stuff again, it has to be said. So yeah, I'll almost certainly be getting that when it comes. Although I still don't have the 52, I haven't bought that yet. Thing is, I really like the old diesels, but I like them when they're actually on a proper line, not just pulling museum coaches along at 10 miles an hour or whatever it is. I get why a lot of people like West Somerset, it just, I couldn't get on with it, I'm afraid. Probably a wee smidge early on the power there as well, to be honest with you, or the brake rather. Although we're doing okay for time, because it's still a minute to run. 500 yards to go, should make it okay. And again, it's perfectly fine to run on a bit further than the stopping point given. You've got a lot of platform here. And in fact, at this point, it really only matters if where you stop on the platform, if the platform is broken up into blocks by signals. If it's just one long continuous block on the platform, then pick anywhere you like, basically. Right, there we go. Just pre-release the brake a smidge, and oh, I've not unlocked the doors. No, I went too far. Shit, that's never happened before. Okay. Literally never done that before, and I have been further down this platform than this. I've been right up to the station, the edge of the edge of the canopy before. Right, that is bloody annoying. After all that I was saying coming in, and it wouldn't sodden let me unlock the doors there. Okay, up till now I have never found it an issue, but just disregard the entire last 2 minutes, because apparently it fucking well is at Middlesbrough. It wouldn't be a proper stream if something didn't go wrong. Without PZB to foil me, something else had to give. I would have noticed when I jumped to the external camera, presumably, that my doors were all bloody locked. Oh well. So there goes timekeeping then. We're going to be pretty much a minute late now, getting out of here. That was just stupid. Right, so finally under. Yeah. Just waiting to realise I'd left it in reverse or something equally daft. Okay. I'll just stick the power in a little bit early. And it is 25 miles per hour around the station. But there isn't a rule about how quickly you can get to 25. And we're pretty much alright, I think. So, maybe get that back, maybe won't. I don't know. I'm not that good at it yet, I don't think. Oh, Tommy, that is far from the worst thing that I've ever done when I've been streaming. I do have at least one spad to my name on stream. And another time where I got myself stuck between two reds because I reversed too far back for something or other. How's that time looking? Oh, the speed limit's just... yeah. If the 60 zone had started a little earlier, I probably still wouldn't have quite made it, but it would have helped. And this is also the stretch of line where you potentially can see the odd bit of freight as well. There's not very much on the line at the moment, but you do sometimes pass them. I think I maybe started this actually a bit early for the Motherwell train that we sometimes see on this this end. So still a mile to run. You do have to keep half an eye on this as well, the speed limit, because it can actually, the upcoming limit can change if the points on the track are set differently to how they're going to be for you. Oh, the long loading screen from hell, mate. Yeah, it's getting worse. They have said they know about it and they're looking at it, but yeah, it's definitely something I've noticed happening. But as I said at the very beginning, we got there in the end. Oh, like a glove. How much time did I get back? So I made some of that time back. Maybe not as much as I would have liked, but some. Let's just let a bit of that break out. Yeah, bags of room. That wasn't even close. So much more industrial sort of stuff going in the background now as we get head out of Middlesbrough towards Redcar itself. Particularly steel production going on in this area around this time. Although we also pass a big factory belonging to the British Oxygen Company, or the British Oxygen Corporation, I can't remember which it was, a little bit further as well. Oh, very topical this one right now. Redcar British Steel. So only some of the trains stop here. Redcar British Steel. All the Saltburn trains stop at Redcar Central and East. But only at certain times of day do they stop at British Steel. Can't remember which times of day, because I only know that I've sometimes been through it and sometimes stopped at it. Alright, so just through this station and a little bit more speed again. Hi Chris, welcome back. Good to see you again, my man. The as promised passenger part is here. Not going so well. It's going alright. I might have just overshot my mark. Just the once. And only by about 10 yards or so. Just enough to stop the doors opening and cost me about a minute on the line. It's actually quite a quick line. This it's broadly equivalent to, I would say, this is the British rail equivalent of Rursig Nord. If you've played Rursig Nord, then this is kind of a similar mix of passenger and freight, with maybe a bit more stuff to actually do with the freight trains. But in terms of the running speeds and things like that, they're broadly similar. Well, not yet, no. How are we doing for time? Ah, just missed it. Not to worry. That was probably a bit too early as well, because the friction going around this corner will give the brakes a lot of help as well. Yeah, I've never... The lever on the one on NTP is a bugger to find, because it's a slightly different cab. I'll be honest with you, I use control and enter. Oh, we're going for an overshoot again. I use control and enter on my keyboard to do it. Ugh. I must have driven this 4 times yesterday and not had a single problem. At least it's letting me unload this time. Oh, dearie dear. Under pressure, man. That's what it is. And a minute late. I'll redeem myself on the return leg. Yeah, control enter if you've got a USB keyboard. Otherwise, I was buggered if I could ever find the lever on the damn thing. It's not in the same place as it is on the in this cab, I don't think. Oh shit, not that one, that one. Just get ready to lock up and get going. Only a couple of more stations left going in this direction anyway. I think it's red car, Longbeck, one more place I can't remember, and then Saltburn. And they're not that far apart either. Or rather, they don't take that long to get to, because it's not a particularly slow line at any point. Not a particularly fast one, but it's not a particularly slow one either. We're certainly not on the passenger lines. The goods lines where they go through the Tyne Yard is, or the Tees Yard, sorry. I think those have got slightly more restrictive limits. Certainly the goods up has you doing about 10 miles an hour coming out of the yard, which is torturous. I think it's 20 going in on the goods down. Can't mind what the speed limit was here, 60, that's fine. Whew. Right, that was a bit better. I don't think I actually remembered to breathe again after the initial application back there. But, aye. That's a bit more like how you did it. As opposed to stopping with half the train hanging off the platform. So I'll just pre-release the brake a little bit, because, you know, no such thing as health and safety in 1989. And absolutely bugger all systems on the train to stop you doing that. So, yeah, why not? So what would actually be happening by now is the guards would already be walking down the train shutting all the doors, and unless anybody was still running to get on it, they'd have you on your way as soon as. Unfortunately, don't have that flexibility with the game yet, but I say yet as if we ever will. No reason to think that it'll be done, but then I suppose it is a train driving simulator, not a train guarding simulator. Let's just give it full beans. Current limit is 50, and although we've not got very far to go, I am about a minute and a half behind. Entirely my own doing. Yes, I am from Scotland, Tommy. I'm fairly close to Edinburgh in the southeast. Not really much point in third gear, fourth gear, I don't think. This is one of these stretches of line where it's almost worth your while accelerating, but then the time you have to give the brakes and things, it's almost not. Or maybe you should have a little bit, and then by the time you make your mind up, it's too late anyway. Should possibly commit to a decision earlier the next time. Yeah, that's not too bad. Didn't actually see what the intended arrival time was. Aye, it's no bad, man. It's like everywhere else, I guess. If you live there, you probably take it a wee bit for granted, you know. But, aye, worst places I could have ended up, I guess. This is one of those bits where it almost looks amazing, but it just doesn't quite. But it's trying so hard to. Look at the fine detailing on the platform surface. You can see where it's been bolted down, for Christ's sake. And then the tree looks like a little kiddie drew it. Or at least it does in some lights. Forgot to let my brakes out a little bit again. I must have lost easily about a minute to waiting on brakes releasing as well across this run. So I think what I will do after this is I will do the return leg as well, but I'm not going to change ends in the unit. I'm going to do it from the menu, because annoyingly you don't get the noise of the brake valves if you do an end change, ever, at all. It doesn't seem to work unless you save the game and then quit out and reload it, which takes just as long as going back to the menu screen anyway. So and you still have to do the setup whichever way you choose to do it. So just for convenience sake, I will probably do it via the main menu and use that as a good time to have a wee quick break myself for a minute or two. I always sit down to do this right after I've had a cup of coffee. And it turns out 24 miles is about the maximum endurance in my bladder. So from 40-45 mile an hour you can start your braking from fairly late, like 500 yards late. Like, pick a landmark broadly 500 yards away. So from this level crossing, I mean, the driver would know he had to be on the brakes by this level crossing to be stopping at Longbeck. And a good driver would know exactly how much brake he had to use to stop at Longbeck. This is one of those stations where it is actually dead easy to accidentally go off the end though. It's not much longer than the train itself. So, time on platform is supposed to be 33, we are presently at... Oh, I'm nearly making that back. I won't get it back going into Saltburn though, because that's the slowest stretch of the line. Let's just let a bit of that brake pressure back in there. Fine. Oh, it's a tilty bit of track. So we're fairly near the end. I think just one more station after this. Maersk, I think it's called. So we'll be ready to select the door. And away we go. Maersk, I'm thinking of the bloody shipping company. I think I was maybe a bit too early with the gear change there. And oh, I hate this one because it's on a hill and I always get it wrong. couldn't have got that much closer to on the money if I tried, to be honest. So we're basically just going round that corner up there. It's not that far at all to Saltburn now. Well, if the draw distance on the PlayStation was just a little bit better, you'd probably see it from here. Man, even the most ramshackle, cobbled together, mass-produced unit sounded awesome back in the 1960s. Oh, 2 miles still. I didn't think it was as long as that. It doesn't feel as long as that when you're doing it. Meh. Oh, I've not played with any of the New York trains in ages, man. Problem is there's so much still broken with the Northeast Corridor, and there's just, I don't know, there's nothing wrong with Long Island, I guess. It's just I don't ever seem to play very much of it. I did quite enjoy it for a while though when it came out. How's the time looking? So, nah, I'm maybe going to make it about a minute late or so, but I should still get all green ticks though, because I think you can be up to 4 or 5 minutes late and still get that. Even AWS sounded bloody better in the 80s, man. That's awesome. I think we should have modern trains, like, with all the safety shit that they have now, absolutely, but I think, like, with all this technology, they should be able to record, like, 1980 sound effects into the cabs for us. Just keep all the sounds and stuff the same. Like, just have big speakers on these electric trains playing diesel noises, that'd be cool. Then everybody's happy. Well, I mean, except obviously the people who buy houses next to railway lines that have been there for 200 years and then complain about the noise, but yeah, you're always going to get them. So it's a cool wee station, this. I really like it. He's little sort of end of the line type dealie. Should have come on plenty of room. Yeah. Just occurred to me as I was pulling up to a halt, there was like, shit, how long is this platform again? So yeah, it's a cool little route. I really enjoy that. That's fun. Shorter than the Transpennine, but it's different. It's not so many hills to contend with, but lots of constant just stopping and starting. It's good. Recommend that. Of course, we'll be going back the other way in a few minutes. I am going to take just a few moments to go and do all the things that you do when you're waiting to turn the train round. A little over an hour. That's longer than I thought. It did not feel like that long. So it does say there you can take the next service out in 6 minutes, but as I say, you end up having to reload the game anyway, and you have to wait ages for it. Oh, what time was that service at? That's I'll make sure I pick up the return one, 16:48. Right, that's fine. Let me just set the menu now so that I don't forget what I'm doing when I pop back. Community challenge. I know that the first one was done, but I've still never been to claim my wallpapers. Mostly on account of not really having anything to use it on, really, but or nothing I'd feel inclined to use it on, rather. So we want that. Let's have a spot of rain on the way back. Make it all moody and stuff. Right, so that's the one I'm going to be wanting on the way back. Right. Couple of minutes, lads, and then we'll get this show on the road. Okay, so let's get this return trip done. Getting a bit darker and a bit moodier and a bit rainier and stuff. Well, rainier, maybe not darker and moodier yet. So let's get the doors open. Quick setup. Markers to white. Destination on. So this train is, though we're only going as far as Darlington, it is a Bishop Auckland service. So Nash in the back. And we just want to set the markers to red. These annoying click spots. And Bishop Auckland should be the first one that comes up. Yep, happy with that. Well, we do get about another minute after the passengers are loaded to finish doing what we need to do here. Get that done. So it does say wait till 1650, but I'm just going to go ahead and do the door locking now. Make sure that the train lights are on actually. Reverse out to forward, gears to first. Let some of the air out the brakes. And at this point I usually just give it a quick squeeze to make sure that I do have sound effects, because that bug is really annoying when you get it. Always remember to turn that key as well, otherwise you won't have any control of the loco. Right. Fine, we can just get rid of that now. Just about ran out of time to do all the things I want to do, so it is quite tight time-wise when you're doing all that setup type stuff, but it is doable, and I can do it a bit quicker as well when I'm not trying to talk my way over it. Okay, let's see if we can do a slightly tidier job of this on the way back than we did on the way in. I might talk a wee bit less and concentrate a wee bit more, to be honest. I think it might actually be a 40 rather than a 45 I'm on, but oh hum. we'll just wind that in a teeny wee bit. I think it is actually a 40 because it's only two colour aspect signalling down here, I think. So if that is still not that there's much point in giving it any power. So you can be fairly firm with the brakes and get it down to like 5 or 10 bar pretty quickly. And you can release it from there equally quickly if you need to. There's about a second lag between getting it from nothing to full on and full on to released. If you give it full pressure, you can regulate how quickly the air is going in there and what have you. But you can be a lot firmer with it than you might initially think. I certainly found that the reason I lost loads of time in this train is because I was braking far earlier than I needed to, much more gently than I needed to, and as a result for a lot longer than I needed to. I wasn't spending as much time at line speed, in other words. And it's just finding that confidence to do it. I mean, from 60 miles an hour, you can, if you have an oh shit moment, not even react until we're well within the last 1,000 yards and still make it. Anybody who was drinking a hot beverage at the time might not thank you for it, but you'll get away with it. And speaking of which, I'm going to let some of that air out the brakes just now. Set the right gear. Not even sure what the time is. I'm not going to start pulling screens up now. We'll just get ready to lock. So we're at least running tight for time, if not outright behind. 16:57 at Longbeck. I'll check the time when we get into Longbeck, see what happens, how we're doing there. But I want to let that back out, or I'm going to stop with the back of the train hanging off. So there you can let it out quite far and then just pop it back in. And we've made that little bit of time back there as well. Sweet. And what I'll do as well, as soon as the load passengers thing is done, even though I'm going to have a few seconds in hand, I'm still going to just do the door locking thing then. Because by that point, the doors are shut. They start closing them as soon as possible, and then it's a case of anybody still coming onto the platform, guard will open the door and wave them on that way. I think it is only a few more seconds anyway. It's not that long. Control and 5 on a USB keyboard, incidentally, to toggle the heads-up display the way that I have been. So about 10 seconds to go. Should actually do that before you release the controls, but really, as long as you acknowledge it, that was the main thing. So I think, what was the speed limit leaving that station? It's also handy sometimes to pull this up just to double check your speed limits if, like me, you forget them easily. Passenger comfort, right, how much should you consider passenger comfort with braking? About as much as British rail drivers did back in the day, which largely depended on how much time they had. Is how I remember it. The trains are essentially designed that as long as you're not in emergency braking, the ride should not be dangerous or overly uncomfortable. Although it was well known that if you were up towards the end of a train's sort of service limit with the brakes, it was probably going to be quite severe. Vacuum brakes especially, they tend to snatch. The worst thing that will happen with vacuum brakes if they're still on when the train stops is you'll get a sort of juddering stop that you don't really feel in the game. Not a huge deal, but again, you wouldn't want to be holding a cup of tea when it happened. But keeping the trains running on time comes absolutely first, generally speaking. I'm braking way too early there. Made a bit of a pig's ear of that. I find I can do most of my braking in the last 500 yards or so with the needle somewhere between 3 and 10 on that little gauge down there, and then just whap it down to 0. I think I just made it with those front doors on. Oh, just hanging over. Balls. We'll put that down to the wet weather. Yeah, you can do most of your braking in the last 500 or 600 yards. It does require a bit more concentration than I'm generally giving it at the moment, though. Ugh, don't like that. Just looks. No, we're just staying in the cab. I think that's embarrassing. Poor show. Didn't even take a note of the time as it was coming in either. I hate that little pause as well when you go to bring up the doors. Right, wait till 17:02, don't know how long that is. Oh, right, okay, so we're 10 seconds or so. I'd have been bang on if I'd braked properly into that station. What actually happened there was I misjudged it by a few yards because I looked away to find the cursor so that I could have it pointing at the right part of the brake gauge. So I wasn't paying attention to the brake gauge for just a momentary break in your concentration like that, and you'll stuff it with vacuum brakes. And once we're underway, I'm just going to move the handle back round to the lap position. Lightly applied pressure, for those who didn't know. Move it back to the lap position so that should I need to pop it on, it's already ready to be put on. Word salad, man, jeez oh. But I think you know what I mean though. So the stations are all pretty closely bunched up together at the red car, and in fact we're just going to keep booting it for another couple hundred yards or so. The brake's already at lap, so at about 500 yards, we're doing 40 miles an hour. This should be easy. So I've got the brakes down to about 9. And I'm losing the speed just nicely there. Not too severe. It's not too inefficient. I'm coming onto the platform a bit slow, so I just release the brake, let the needle return to 20, that's the one on the left. You don't need to worry too much about what actual measurements they are, you just need to know what numbers to represent what sort of braking force. At about 50 yards, you can stick it onto about 10, and you should, between 10 and 15, and you should sort of just roll up right about where it wants you to. And just give them a little squeeze at the end if you need to, just to bring it to a halt. Essentially, the less air there is in the brakes, the worse the snatch will be when it stops. Let's have a wee look outside of here. Huh? Oh, blimey. Big brother's watching me, eh? Better be careful what I say. Depends on the train. Sometimes if you stand up and sit down, if the train has an electronic brake or a locomotive brake, it will often default to that as opposed to the full fat train brake. Doesn't happen in the 101 because the 101 has only a single brake type. But most other ones, all the German ones have got an e-brake as well as a train brake. All the British diesels, apart from this, also have an e-brake as well as a train brake. So that's what it's changing back to. Always defaults to the local brake or the e-brake. Right, so we've got a little bit of a run now to the next station, which is Red Car British Steel. This is a peak time train, so it's going to stop there. Okay, so this is going to be a little bit of a faster approach into Red Car British Steel. This will be something a little more like 50-55 maybe. Signal permitting, obviously. So handle into the lap position, nice and early. Clear ahead. So crossing the bridge, we know we've a little over half a mile to go. and as all that crap over the track hoves into sight ahead, just let your throttle out and get ready to pop some brakes in. Again, we can leave it reasonably late. As you see the milepost coming up on the right, it's a good place to just feed the brakes in. If you need a little bit more, you can just give it a little bit more, and if you need to let a little bit out, you can let a little bit out. And if needed, just let the brake out and roll on to the end of the platform. It's okay to release it and then apply it again quickly afterwards. What you shouldn't do though is you shouldn't end up feathering the handle, which is rapidly moving it backwards and forwards. Doesn't do anything in the game as far as I'm aware. If you did it in real life, you could completely bugger up the brake system. I think you end up causing like airlocks in the system and what have you. So again, just letting a little bit of that pressure out while I remember to, basically. So the train station in the middle of nowhere. What actually happens is fleets of buses turn up to pick the workers up off the trains and drive them out to the yards, or that's what used to happen. I don't know what it's like. Well, alright, so right at this moment, yeah, okay, we'll not bother talking about what's happening in Red Car just now. 89, there would have been, I believe, transport laid on from the steelworks around about, bringing the workers to and from the stations. Or the station, sorry. There's the factories and stuff, not factories, the steel mills and things. I don't have a route map at my fingertips, but I think, yeah, the Red Car area is just northwest of Red Car. Over there is where we did all the loading and unloading stuff, and from here to, what's the name of the place? Eagles Cliff. Good chance of spotting a freight train going the other way on this stretch of the line. And in fact, 1714, we might get one of the double headers coming down from Motherwell. I can't remember if it's at 5 o'clock or 7 o'clock it comes along the line. That is when you know they've done a bang-up job of delivering a good DLC, is when you actually look forward to doing a little bit of train spotting on your way along the line. I didn't realise you didn't actually have this already, Chris. It's... yeah, it's... I've already had my 25 quid's worth out of it. I mean, as well as the bit of streaming I've done on this account, I've obviously got my everyday civilian one, if you like, that I've done plenty running on. I was kind of hoping that would be on the other side of the track, to be honest. Yeah, I mean, you saw the judder there as I was moving the camera around. It's not completely without its issues, but honestly, I love it. I think it's really good. I think I'm also just about to be speeding. Yeah, it is, Tommy. I absolutely love this game. Probably my most played game of the last couple of years, if I'm being honest. Certainly more than any other one single thing, if not everything else put together, possibly at points. I love the telephone bell sound as you set off AWS. It's good. $50 or $55? Oh, $60 again. Shit, so I'll probably cost myself a little bit more time. The RPM switch simply tells it which one of the engines under the floor it should draw the information for the yellow. See the little yellow needle? It just tells you which one of the two underfloor engines the needle should be referencing. So if I switch that over to engine 2, it just means that this gauge is taking its information from the second motor now. I've never actually tried it to see if it works properly. Yeah, it works. No idea what my time on platform was supposed to be again. I keep not paying attention to that. I keep not paying attention to a vast number of things though, to be fair. Not to worry. Brakes are taking an awfully long time to come completely off as well. That's not a big problem though. Ah yes, the truck and the bus games. I am quite looking forward to those, it has to be said. Oh, I hear a train coming. Cool. Right, better get ready to lock my doors. Oops, fumbled that a wee bit, never mind. I think it's more there as a failsafe than it is as a thing you're supposed to use. To be honest, I don't know. I've never seen the technical manual or anything like that for this. I just happen to know what the switch's intended function was. Didn't take a note of the speed limit either, right? So it's still 60. I'm still learning the speed limits, so I unashamedly rely on the HUD from time to time. How far to the next station? 1.8 is fine. I can probably sit outside for a little while. without buggering it up too badly. See if we get anything oncoming, probably not. So, mile to Middlesbrough, again, speed limit changes notwithstanding. Oh, there's a pretty severe one. That's one you really need to remember is coming up. You'll get away with it in one of these. You would not get away with that if you had a steel or a coal train up your arse when you realised you only had 600 yards to run. And it shouldn't be. Yeah, you got plenty of time. The temptation here is to get down to 25 really early, and you don't need to. You got 500-600 yards to do it. Oh, I'm in way too high a gear, so I at least didn't lose too much speed there. But you don't need to get down to 25 as soon as it becomes the impending speed limit. I mean, I can whap the brake on pretty solidly from 200 yards out and be at speed with another 100 yards odd to go. So the speed limit's satisfied, everybody's happy, and then we just make sure you don't drop too far below it, because every mile an hour you lose, the slower you're going, the more significant every mile an hour is to your overall time lost. And at this sort of speed, you should stop fairly sharpish. I've just realised why I stopped much further up the platform last time as well. It's because I was going in the opposite direction. So in fact, I had gone much further up than I thought I had, but going the other way. Okay, that makes more sense now. Let's just get some of these brake pressures out. There we go. My background. Oh Christ! How do I say too much about that without making it totally obvious what I do? Not a driver, ex or current. Just a very, very keen enthusiast who is very privileged to have quite a lot of access to a lot of information about railways that maybe not everybody would have at their fingertips. The biggest clue I'll give you is that you'll notice that I know quite a bit more about the railways of the past than I do about the ones of today. Right, bit like a car, you kind of really need to get away in second gear, although to be honest, it's probably quicker just to fix that mistake. Didn't buzz my guard either. I'm actually at the speed limit more or less. Just get ready to pop the power down once we're past the sign. Right, so it is still 45 along here. Going a little bit quicker than I should, perhaps. Only a mile an hour or two, though, so we'll not get ourselves too upset about that. And going around this curve straight away, the friction itself just pulls the thing back anyway, so get away with that one. Going to put the power down now because it takes a wee minute for the engine to wind up anyway. This is about as primitive as it gets. It is literally a diesel engine with a stepped power control and a gearbox straight to the axles. There's no fucking around with traction motors or things here. It's what you demand of it is what it will give you. So just going across those wee bridge thingies, just a little breath of brake there to shave the speed off. And then I'm pretty sure that there's another reduction into Thornaby anyway, so we'll just... Till I'm absolutely certain, I'm just going to let it creep down a wee bit more. Yeah, 35, I thought that. And just suddenly there's a gradient change. We're going uphill, the corner suddenly tightens up, so you suddenly, the rate you're losing speed, there's just suddenly a lot more forces acting against the train, so you just have that sudden deceleration. Once you know how to recognise it coming, you can actually tell where the track's going up and down in front of you to a degree, and tight corners are generally going to affect your speed as well, one way or the other. You're either going to need more traction to get round them at the same speed, or you're going to lose a little. Now, even though I heard the bell there, I am going to draw up to the end, make sure I draw up near the end of the platform. 26 is my time on, isn't it? So I'm just about on time still. just set the brake. And the gears, and just check the throttles and idle. Right, that's fine. Ooh, bit of a tight spot there. Oh yeah, have we got a time for a quick game of let's spot the what does it quite not look like? Just made it different enough to get sued game. Or not to get sued game. That was a total word salad, wasn't it? I really shouldn't try and make these things up on the spot. So there's the not quite a Ford Escort. Oh no, that's the not quite a Fiat Strada. This is the not quite a Ford Escort. And that's another not quite a Fiat Strada. And there's some not quite Leyland buses out there as well that I've spotted. Right. This is quite a cool wee bit to drive through. I like this. I don't know why it appeals to me. I just like that sort of feeling of it being a proper urban railway station. Oh, it's taking its time. So 3 minutes more or less to do 2.5 mile. Oh, there's the not quite a Leyland over there. Ours is faster than theirs as well, even though I came off the throttle slightly. Mostly because I didn't want to come back to it with the revs going through the roof. I think it's a 45 that section we were just on, wasn't it? Yeah. See, I start going outside the cab and I start losing track of what speed I'm supposed to be doing at any given time and things like that, so... Apologies to anybody whose preference is to watch the entire trip sitting on the roof, but it doesn't really gel with the way I like to play, unfortunately. Not to say I never do it, but has to be done under controlled conditions. So it's 3 colour aspect signals on this stretch, which means that you will never see the double yellow advance caution on a 3 colour system, or you shouldn't. It should just show you clear caution or danger. I wish the weather was more random. Oh, I've moaned about the weather long and great length, and probably bore the tits off anybody who's watched it before. I did it again, quite frankly. But yes, dynamic weather would be amazing. I think what they need to do is they need to poach one of Codemaster's weather guys or one of Slightly Mad's weather guys, because they're pretty good at it. That's what I reckon. Right, let's just give it a good meaty pump of the brakes. Fnar, fnar. I said pump and meaty in the same sentence. Stop it. Right, I'm going to stop it. See, it's juvenile crap like that that ends up with trains hanging halfway off platforms. And giving train people, frankly, quite a bad name. was it 32 or 33 I was supposed to be on? Oh, damn it, every single time I stop, it's just as it disappears, I think, oh crap, I meant to look at that. Do my brake thing again. So it's a really good idea to let the brakes back out so that the pressure goes up to about 15. So that when you go to release them to move off, you've got about a quarter of the time to wait for the system to charge itself up. Because I can't mind whether I'm running early or not, I'm going to just preempt the door locking. So, leaving the station straight onto the points, because the feather told us that we were going across the points, and you can literally see them right in front of the train set anyway. Much better view of the track than from the cab of the 37, it has to be said, or the much better view of the immediate track, which is good for navigating junctions and things, especially not so much on this line, but around Leeds, Manchester especially, that absolute mess of junctions as you leave Manchester, and you sometimes actually have to sort of be looking for the signals a bit further down because you're going across so many sets of points. It's much easier to work out what's going on from the cab of this thing than from some of the other ones. So because of climbing uphill, the brake actually came on a little bit stronger than I was ready for there. This is where the HUD is useful, because that gradient gauge is handy sometimes. So we're kind of out in the middle of nowhere now. Well, that's not true. We're at a place called, what's it called? Allen's West. Oh yeah, there it is over there. I just can't see it for all the rain. We're not in the middle of nowhere at all. Bit like the nearest station to me, really. Bunch of houses on one side of it and then bugger all for 5 miles on the other. Did I do my brakes? No, I didn't let my brakes out. Let's just quickly try and do that so we're not getting caught with it as the timer expires. And let's just lock up and Oh. Get rid of that thing. Really easy train to drive without the HUD. And as I said, I think it's actually, I find this needle easier to use than the one on the HUD when I'm judging the gear changes and stuff. So there's one tiny little stretch of track where you occasionally see these semaphores, but I don't think they actually apply to the line we're on at any stage. I think they only apply to that that line off to the right there, whatever that is. So I actually made pretty rapid progress, because Dinsdale's the second last stop on the line, and then it is what's the name of the place? Darlington. And there are also services that go from Middlesbrough to Darlington that I think take in every single station in between. Right, you can actually quite easily get up to maximum speed along this stretch, signals permitting. I've not actually seen that much in the way of signalling. The goods trains, yes, I've had more signalling with the freight trains than I've had with the passenger services. Basically the only ones you ever see are the ones that are slowing you down at the end of the line. That bus just crash into something, it looked like. It looked like that bus just suddenly whapped into something at the side of the road. So mile and a half to Dinsdale, but 1 mile to a speed reduction. We need to lose about 30 miles an hour for it. Pardon me. Not going to take us a mile to lose 30, so it's dead easy to think, oh, 0.8 doesn't look like much, I better start stopping now. You don't need to start thinking that far ahead. That said, it's also easy to think, 0.8, that is miles away, I've got loads of time to think about this, and that's not necessarily strictly true either. So, about half a mile or so, come out the power, and if we need to, we can just pop some brakes on. There's 300 yards between the signal and the speed limit, and that's something that a driver on this line, and they would know where their speed limits are in relation to the signals and other landmarks along the lines. They had to know. They were expected to know. They still are, in fact, expected to know all this stuff. So you find the more you drive the route, the less reliant you become on it. It's a handy reference to have to know what bit's coming up next. But you start to realise you can brake from landmarks rather than from fixed points on the track that just relate purely to a number on a HUD. And the 30 is just for getting around this tight bend. There's probably not much point in actually putting much power in. So the brake's already at the lap position. £30 miles an hour. Take you no time if you just plunge that needle away down to the bottom end of the gauge there, on the bottom left. So as always, just let the brakes out to about 15. That's this little gauge here. Another reason it's so much better, I think, to drive without the HUD is because it sits right on top of that brake gauge, and that brake gauge there is more useful than this one on the HUD, because that one's got the numbers, and I do find the numbers quite useful. And likewise, this gauge here is a bit easier to use than the one on the HUD, I think, anyway. Oh, we're up a tree. Random traffic noises in the background there. Oh, it's coming from that traffic bridge. Okay, so we'll just get ready to lock the thing up. Again, annoying that it forces you to sit for the same length of time when you're running a little bit late, because they just wouldn't do that. As soon as it was safe to shut the doors, they would, if you were running a little bit behind time. This thing actually, for the first 40 miles an hour at least, feels much gruntier than the Network or Turbo from Great Western. I have to be honest, it just feels like, maybe just because there's more to do to get it going, but it just feels like a much throatier thing than those. I can't even remember what the class now is. Is it the 166? Yes, it's the 166. But still a 60 mile an hour stretch of line. Oh. So yeah, you do see a fair amount of traffic on this route. I mean, it is realistic enough in as much as one train an hour from a place like Saltburn. In actual fact, possibly quite generous by the standards of this time. Other traffic that you would see would be stuff just going along this bit of the line on its way from A to B elsewhere. So it's a decent amount of traffic, and the good stuff certainly does add a bit more in. I'm not going to lie, cannot wait to get my hands on freight trains on the Transpennine either. That's going to be good. And I believe that you'll be able to use the 47 for freight and the 40 for passengers. Some passenger services anyway. Oh, always up a fucking tree when I press that. It's just a nice wee quick sprint out to the end of the line. It's this is where you get to stretch its legs a little bit. May or may not get signals on the way into Darlington. I wouldn't bank on it. I can't actually remember. No, well that one's green, so let's just get ready to ditch some speed. Maybe need to be a wee bit harsher on the brakes for this one. This could be a slight downhill, I can't remember. There we go. It does sometimes feel like it takes a wee second for them just to bite and then they grab and you're good. So I think 35's the lowest limit I should see. No, 30 going across the points at the top, and then we're going to just nip across. We're actually going to go. We're going to cross the East Coast Main Line into Darlington, looking longingly northwards up it as we do. Hi Nick, welcome man. Good to see you, dude. I'm doing very well, thank you. Timing, dude. I'm getting to the very end of this. It's been a all the way out and back. So I can't remember what my speeds are coming up. I think it's just this 30. Yeah. So on to the East Coast Main Line briefly. Nip across it. And then into Darlington. Where I'm sure I'm supposed to actually do about 15 or 25 miles per hour before I reach the end of the platform. Well, maybe not. But it's actually quite a long way to go into the station as well. Made a total pig's ear of all this. Let's see how my time's looking. So, yeah, more or less on time. I don't think I was ever more than maybe 30 or 40 seconds behind where it wanted me to be. Going along there. We can check that when we get there. This is proper railway. Those big, massive sort of cathedrals of steam that they built in London and Glasgow and Manchester and Edinburgh, they're all well and good, but a proper railway station. There's lots of bricks, lots of fucking metal, no messing about. There we go. So yeah, a few seconds after wanting me to be there, but that's good enough for me. Let's just return the brake to lap. No need to release it for this one. And in fact, we can more or less put the cab into shut down. Let's see how we did. Yeah, so I was more or less there the whole way. It's really difficult to be early along there. You can make it more or less on time, but it's really difficult to be sitting twiddling your fingers for any length of time. Although if you can drive this and stay on time, you can probably do the North Transpennine pretty efficiently as well. It's pretty good for that, because I had a wee go last night and did much better than I've ever done with a 101 before. Ah, if only, man. I would love to see an HST at some point on the old ECML, but not to worry, Nick. It's I never plan these things in advance long enough to put those notifications that I know that other streamers use. I just kind of do this as and when I feel like doing it, to be honest. So, as always, next time, man. So, yeah, that's probably been a good couple of hours I've been sitting doing this for now. So, I think that's a pretty good place to call it. I had a lot of fun driving it. I hope you guys had even half as much fun watching it. And I'll see you again soon. Cheers.